Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have AngerForce Reloaded, a 90s style shoot 'em up from developer Screambox Studios. What kind of taste will we have? Let's get cooking and find out. Released on Steam back in September of 2017, this is a title that I didn't have a chance to get to when it initially came out, but it was brought back to my attention again thanks to Digica's Twitter campaign to hype up a shmup. And so, what do we have here? Well, the game itself is relatively bare bones when it comes to options for being a PC release. There's no way to change the resolution, and there's not really a Tate setup either. So we have a campaign, a practice, and a local co-op modes, as well as a collection and a leaderboard that we can look at. Hopping into the campaign, we have 3 difficulties. There's noob, normal, and I'm assuming the third one will be hard, but at this point I haven't unlocked it. We'll take a look at the game under the normal, as the noob ends at 3 stages and is relatively easy. So once we get past the difficulty selection, there are 4 characters we can select between, and this is the real meat of the game. So these 4 characters each have different shot types, but in addition to having different shot types, they also have different bombs, and they also have 2 special abilities that are unique to them. There's also differences in attack power and health. So with that said, we could go and take any of the characters that we wanted, but I'll go and use Asimo here, as he has the most health, so his survivability is the highest. His attack is pretty good, and his special abilities are really awesome as well, as they aren't close range special abilities, which some of the other characters have a problem of theirs being close range. We do have the ability to look at the tutorial. It's interesting that they bring this one up each time you start the game up fresh, but we'll skip past this. I'll go over the bulk of what's there. Though
Target scanning.
there is a story with each of the characters and some voice dialogue. Basic plot is that we live in an era where there's robotics, but or high-level robotics, but the robots went on a rampage, basically rebelled. And each character has different reasons for seeking out the revenge that they're after. They're angry for one reason or another, hence the name like AngerForce. Anyway, as far as the gameplay is concerned, so we have our typical movement. In the case of using a gamepad, you can use either the analog or digital, which is nice. We have a shot, which is rapid fire. There's also a non-rapid shot, which will fire for a little bit and then start charging energy. There's also a bomb,
Target has been locked.
which, as I mentioned, is different for every character. For Asimo here, it's like an awesome high-powered laser. We have a button for fast movement and a button for slow movement. But one of the things that I feel is really unique about this one is your special abilities. There are 2, and from the controller standpoint, they're on the bumpers. So we have both this laser ability, where we fire a little laser module that fires out a beam and then rushes forward, and then there's also this chain lightning, which will fire a orb of chain lightning. So the special abilities are really important, as that's all about your counter and your score bonuses will be from those. And in the left, you can see your combo counter and the special kill rate. Those will go up as you use the special weapons. Then further down on there, we have the character icon next to our character's portrait. Next to the portrait, you see a whole bunch of various icons there. So the little bars of energy, that's our special ability power. And as we use those, we build the larger meter, which is right now at 20 of 45. So each time you use your special ability, that counter goes up by the amount of energy you've used. So the more you use your special abilities, the more you can, or rather that meter once it's full will give you a bomb. below that meter, we go and see two indicators for our special abilities. They basically let us know how much power our special abilities use, and will light up if they're available. And then the right side is all scoring stuff. So here we are, the first boss. All the bosses in this game are multi-phase, like 3 or 4 phases depending on the boss. So let's talk about, since this is the first boss, and he's a relatively easy one to deal with, let's talk about our last ability that I haven't mentioned. We have the ability to shoot and charge. What that charge does is build energy that you use for your special weapon. Depending on the character and some abilities you've picked up, you'll get energy bars to use for your special weapon the longer you charge it. So you also charge energy from shooting enemies, and certain enemies will drop power or energy as they're defeated, bosses included. Let's take care of this guy. Pick up all the bonuses, and that is stage 1. Now, another really neat feature about AngerForce, after you complete a stage, you get to choose a power-up. 3, or there's also a power-up that allows for a 4th upgrade. And these upgrades, there are some that are unique to the character themselves, which are usually indicated in a color that are different from the others. For the Asimo here, his unique abilities are in the color blue. So in this case, his unique ability here that we could pick up is 2 HP and increases the HP limit by 2. Or there's also the ability to basically have an auto bomb, or we can extend our combo counters. So I'm definitely going to take his unique ability. For his, they usually involve, well actually for most of the characters, they involve their special abilities and changing or upgrading them in certain ways, which is really neat. But the special abilities that are available at the end of the stage are random, so it adds almost a roguelite element to the game, where each time you play it, things will be a little bit different, and you'll build up your character in different ways each time. It's a really neat feature and something that I don't see often enough in shoot-em-ups. And I think that's basically all the various systems that we have in the game itself. So as far as the look of it, we've got some really neat, almost retro-style mechs in our enemy robots that we fight. I really like the design that we have there. Some of them are kind of cute, remind me of serve bots. Others, well, actually a lot of the look reminds me of that. Each character that we play has a unique look, in addition to just the way that the character sprites look on screen and are designed, the way that their shots, special abilities, all that's used. And the bosses and the way that they're introduced, there's something kind of Borderlands-y that reminds me of that just little mini introduction there, like the Dread Feller here. Going through the forest, cutting down all the trees. Just about have a bomb unlocked. Let's get that all the way. Halfway through Dreadfeller's first form, so we'll save our bomb for later on. So lengthwise, if you're playing on noob difficulty, there are only 3 stages. Playing on normal difficulty increases the number of stages by 2, and I'm assuming playing on hard difficulty would increase it all the way to 9 stages, as their webpage says the game has 9 unique stages to it. So that's a decent bit of gameplay, especially since each character is unique in their own way. One thing I definitely haven't been doing this run through is using my special abilities as often as I should. If you're all the way charged to full power, you've been wasting that potential. So let's talk a little bit about the minus and the plus flavors of the game itself. So one thing I feel the game doesn't do well is The sound design I feel is a little bit weak. There are some sound effects that don't have the impact I feel they should or are almost completely quiet, and the music feels just a little off from time to time, almost like it doesn't fit or it's not really going with the stage itself. In addition to that, some of the later stages in particular feel like they just overstay their welcome just a bit. I know that, as you progress in a shoot 'em up, you want things to become more difficult, but arbitrarily increasing the difficulty, or rather the length of the stage, I feel isn't the best way to handle that. But as far as the plus flavors are concerned, so the first one that really stands out to me that I really like is the upgrade system the game has. Being able to pick an upgrade after each stage and having different upgrades be available is something that's really fun and like adds a really exciting element to each playthrough. Then there's the characters themselves. All the different shots that they go and have, their different special abilities, and their like unique upgrades that they get. That's definitely something that I really appreciate, and I've liked playing all the different characters. They also each have different attack power and HP, so there's a uniqueness, there's quite a bit of uniqueness to playing each character. So there's a lot of replayability in the game itself. And then there's also the character design and the mech design for the game. I feel it's really spot on, and it's something that's just fun. The game itself, at least with the way that the boundaries are, seems a little brown, but aside from that, I really do like the graphic design of both the user interface as well as all the enemies and characters that we have. So, final verdict? This really is what they advertise it to be. It's a very solid retro-style arcade shmup. It's not a bullet hell. It's based far more in being a skill-based shoot 'em up, and I feel like even though we get a lot of vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups, we don't get many that aren't bullet hells, so I really can appreciate that. So this is one that receives a hearty recommendation from Chef Fitaurus. As always, I'll leave a link to the Steam page below, so if you're interested in checking out the game, you can do so that way, or you can just look it up. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.